hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Hey everybody, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and it is Wednesday night, hump day night, of course. And we are here to give you all the entertainment we can pack into 2 fun-filled hours here on the Paranormal Portal. So welcome everybody, hope your week's going great. Thank you for being here with us. It's always and always will be an honor to know that so many of you show up just to hang out with us. That's pretty cool. So I just need to let you know, of course, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not here alone. I've got my good friend and co-host, the Big Toe, is right here next to me, Mr. Don Longbeard. How you doing?
I wonder if there's somehow I could turn on the microphone.
That's called being proactive, huh?
I was wondering if there was something I could find that I could be the big something of other than a toe. I mean, you're a little bit older than I am, so I can't be the big brother.
No, and I'm gonna leave that there. I'll just leave that there. The big toe helps you balance. It helps you walk. It's an important toe, as far as all the toes go. The big toe is the important one, right?
Okay. Well, yeah.
We'll go with that.
I guess I'll just...
Big Daddy.
I don't want to hear you calling me Big Daddy.
I don't even like saying it, so that's good. I'm glad we agreed on that one quick. I don't know what the hell is to play.
Yeah, we'll just hard pass on that.
We'll go Big Toe for now.
All right, fine.
Till something else comes up. But ladies and gentlemen, hope you guys are doing great. We got a lot of paranormal adventures to bring your way tonight in the form of what we hope to be wildly entertaining portions of the show. But the phone lines will be open throughout the course of the show if you want to call in or you feel like you want to yap at us a little bit about the paranormal. By God, we'd be here to be yapped at. But just wait until after the news. But the number for the show is 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. So those are numbers for fun on the big G's. Yes. That's pretty good.
I prefer what MCAT said.
What?
Don with his big toe, see how far he can shove it up your
Well,
somebody's got my back.
Well, I guess we went a whole different direction.
I think I owe him maybe a big old stogie. I don't know.
All right, Mr. MCAT, that's enough out of you, huh? All right. But that's everything I think on the front end, Don. So
can we just stay on the front end? Because I don't want to be on the back end.
Oof.
He's learning.
I'm looking at the camera just going,
He's learning.
These things just fly through my head, and I got to filter them and process really quickly. And remember, this is a family-friendly show, so we can only leave it at vague innuendo and move on. So, I can assure you, I don't want you on the back end either. But we're going to get into the rest of the show, ladies and gentlemen, so I hope you're all ready, because it's getting really spooky.
Weird in here.
Really weird, yeah. All right, that was the boom, Don. That
Yeah.
means we're on the clock now.
Spooky.
It's all spooky up in here.
Spooky up in here.
So, as we are just launching the show, I guess the best place to start is where we always start on the 2-hour shows.
At the beginning?
At the news.
At the news.
The news.
In the beginning. Oh, Jesus.
What? Oh, no, I probably don't want to know.
No, it's Rachel says if it's not innuendo, it's out the window. So if it's not innuendo, then it's out the window.
What's in your endo?
Oh, no.
What's in your endo, Don?
Oh. Aliens. Coring.
Circling Uranus. All right. Anyway, since we're just going there, I might as well drive the truck full bore into the wall. Right into the wall. That's it. But
Oh, I just got sent a TikTok.
Yeah, okay.
I saw a really funny. I'll talk about it later.
Okay. All right, but I got some news for you guys. If you don't mind me going into some of the actual program, I guess we should probably start. The first piece of news tonight is coming from, of course, unexplained-mysteries.com, and this one's kind of interesting. Don, this is one you should love.
Really?
Yeah, it's coming from about trail cam stuff going on, and apparently it's still going on. And that, of course, is from unexplained-mysteries.com.
Oh, my God, no.
Creepy clown trail camera mystery continues to endure. And this is an old one. I saw this one years ago. I don't know what year. It looks like 2017, maybe. But, yeah, this is an old one. It says, eerie photographs of a clown captured on a trail camera have remained a topic of debate for years. Imagine wandering through a forest in the early evening, struggling to find your way through the dense tree branches as the light begins to fade, only to come face to face with one thing you would never have imagined running into in a million years. A clown, grinning ear from ear. Ear to ear, I guess. In these two photographs, which are reportedly captured by a trail camera in the middle of a forest, have remained something of an enigma for more than 10 years. The story has been posted online sometime before 2010. Wow, it's older than I thought. However, despite the best efforts of internet sleuths and even myth-busting site Snopes, well...
Snope? I wouldn't use them.
Did they solve it? Snoop? No definitive source has so far been found. Sorry, I can learn to read sometime pretty soon. The images have appeared on numerous websites over the years, often associated with a story or urban legend about a creeping clown appearing in the woods without explanation. The mystery also predates the creepy clown phenomena that began back in 2013. I think the real creepy clown phenomena was more like, who's that idiot, that John Wayne Gacy?
John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah, so it's much earlier than that.
Well, that's definitely let's say he's the grandfather of the creepy clown.
Yeah, for sure.
He was actually the creepiest of them.
Yes, he was. Yeah. Twisted bastard. But
yes, that's true.
In all likelihood, of course, the pictures are probably staged and the clown is also the same person who set up the camera. However, there is something undeniably eerie about the whole thing. You can just imagine how terrifying it would be to come across this guy in the woods at night. It depends on your state of packed. What are you carrying? I think you start there.
Yeah.
Because if some idiot's going to walk around trying to freak people out in a clown costume and he meets, like, say, some hunter,
well,
it might not be a good day to be a clown.
Yeah, hanging around like that in my back 40 is probably not a good idea because, well, one, I have bear. Two, I would take care of it myself.
Yeah, that's just, I don't know what these people, I mean, I don't know. There was that big internet thing for a long time where people were trying to set up these scares like this. Like, for instance, there was this, and some of them were just horrible, like this guy dressing up like someone from the Middle East, like, yelling stuff and throwing a backpack and then running.
Right.
And it's like, oh, God, you stupid son of a, I mean, it's just, it's so poor. Such a bad attempt at being funny. Yeah. And it's just like, he's lucky he didn't get shot. He's lucky he didn't get shot a bunch of times.
I'm not going to say who said it in the chat because chat knows who it is, but someone said, introduce him to the metric system starting at 9 millimeters.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, don't end up in my freezer. Yeah, that's probably it. I've got a 5-family freezer down there. You don't want to be there.
Yeah. That sounds so creepy. 5-family freezer. Who the hell measures them by families? What the hell is that all about?
Yeah, I kind of was like, what does that mean? Wow.
Who came up with that idea? How do we measure this? Well, can you fit a family? Okay,
we don't,
one family.
Heavy water. We don't know if these are trespassing or public land photos. We don't know.
Yeah,
but mine's definitely trespassing.
That is so creepy.
Wow.
But anyway, folks, the legend endures. There's still no definitive answers, but I agree. I bet you it's just some idiot, put these things together as a shock kind of thing. And if it's his land and he owns it, and he's good for him. But if he's on somebody else's land doing that, he's going to wind up dead. You'd never do that up here. No. In this area, you don't. Where it says private property, you pay attention.
I have no clue. No clue where he went.
Where's that clown? They're late for the party. He's like, I took a wrong turn. Yeah. All right. The next article on our list of fun tonight is from unexplainedmysteries.com. Wormholes could serve as stable conduits through space after all. I thought this was cool because, of course, Deep Space Nine. I was a Trekkie fan. I watched Deep Space Nine where they had the space station right on the edge of that wormhole into, wherever the hell it went.
Oh, is that what it was?
What?
I never watched.
Oh, you never watched? Yeah, basically they were sitting.
Did I just say DS9?
Yeah, I guess you did, didn't you?
Did.
You went totally geek on me.
I did. I actually never really watched it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I thought it was cool. It was back in the day. I was a young guy and sit at my grandma's, and she. I don't know. I just always hung out at grandma's. She was my buddy, but she didn't watch the shows with me. But that was my ritual, and I'd always sit up late and watch Deep Space Nine. But anyway, this says a new study has played down fears that wormholes would not be stable enough. Well, it's interesting because do they even know they exist for sure? I mean, they've been theorized, and there's a formula to saying they could be out there, but now we're saying that not only are they out there, but they're actually stable. I don't know. I still wouldn't be the first guy to test that one. But it says, on the face of it, wormhole might seem like a straightforward concept. Link two black holes in different parts of the cosmos to create a tunnel. Excuse me. That was Reed burping. Sorry about that. Came out a little more forceful than I meant. Through which a space traveler could pass. In reality, however, it's not quite that simple. It's certainly an idea that has been around for a while. Physicist Albert Einstein and Nathan Rosen took a very serious look at the concept in connection with Einstein's general theory of relativity, theorizing the existence of what is known as the Einstein-Rosen bridge, which was pretty much popularized by the movie Thor. That's how they came down from Asgard, with the Einstein-Rosen bridge. In recent years, however, physicists have cast serious doubt on the possibility that such a structure could ever remain stable long enough for someone to actually travel through it. Right. In all likelihood, they argue a wormhole would collapse almost instantaneously. While this would seem to be the final nail in the coffin for the idea of using wormholes for space travel, a new study has since contradicted those findings by suggesting that wormholes might actually be a lot more stable than previously believed. The physics behind the mechanism through which this is theoretically possible are rather complicated. However, it is all to do with what is known as Eddington-Finkelstein metric aid, that happens to a particle once it crosses the event horizon of a black hole, one half of the theoretical wormhole. The new research, which is conducted by physicist Pascal Koiren, Koiren?
You did just fine. Koiren.
Okay. From the École Normale Supérieure de Lyon in France, suggests that wormhole travel might in fact be possible. If true, perhaps future generations will one day learn how to use them to explore the stars. Interesting. Well, I really don't know what the hell I just read, but I can just look.
Why don't we just create a Stargate?
Really, that's a great idea.
It'd be more, something we could actually, trust.
You just flip a switch.
Maybe.
We got the Paranormal Portal. That's a good start, right? We dive into this safely every week so far.
Yeah. Get in, sit down, and shut up.
Jeez, be careful. Keep your arms and legs in the car at all times. Here's one from unexplained-mysteries.com. Has to do with the giant panda, Don.
Giant panda?
Yep.
Is there any other kind of panda?
There's red pandas, yeah. There's other.
Are they really pandas?
Yeah, they're really pandas, I think.
Huh.
Yeah, but they're the giant panda, of course.
It's not like there's a little panda.
They probably start out little, but why is the giant panda black and white? Well, a trio of scientists explain exactly how they determine the reason behind the panda's distinctive coloration. In contrast to many flamboyant species of birds, most of the 5,000 species of mammals are drab browns or grays, but there are a small number of well-known intriguing exceptions, most notably zebras, skunks, and orcas. Perhaps the most famous of all, however, is the giant panda. How is that more famous than any of the other ones? I don't know. We already had a preliminary idea why they had their markings, but wanted to finally confirm the reason for its mysterious pattern. Viewed up close at a zoo, the giant panda is a striking, conspicuous mix of a white bear with black forelegs, shoulders, and hind legs, and an extraordinary face with black fur around the eyes and ears. By comparing these different parts of the body with the coloration of other carnivores, pandas are officially classified as carnivores, contrary to popular belief. And also with bears, we already knew that carnivores with white backs are found in snowy environments, and those with dark legs and shoulders are found in shady habitats. This suggests that the fur was an adaptation to be camouflaged in different environments. Nowadays, giant pandas are confined to isolated areas in western China where there are relatively few predators, but we need to confirm that the camouflage was effective against the giant panda's former predators: tigers, leopards, Asiatic black bears, and D-holes, whatever a D. I hate when those D-holes come.
What a bunch of D-holes you are.
I know. We just get white and black for all those D-holes we got to deal with. A wild dog, and from the days when they ranged right across China into Vietnam.
I have to look up a D-hole now.
I know. The breakthrough came when we linked up with colleagues in the Chinese Academy of Sciences, Yonggang Nai and Fu Wen Wei.
When?
Fu Wen. They work with giant pandas in the field.
It's pronounced dole. D-O-L-E. It's pronounced dole.
Oh, it is.
That's D-hole.
I like my definition better. I like
nasty D-holes. Let's get out of here, douche canoe.
D-hole. I love.
It's pronounced D-O-L-E. Dole.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Julia, I think you mean gargle, not Google.
Oh, so it's not a D.
It's not a D-hole, it's a dole.
That's so awesome. D-hole.
Couldn't help it. I had to
What
look
do they
it up.
look like?
They're okay. So they're wild dogs. It's a breed of wild dog. It's like a red, like a red. Jesus, it's like a red D-hole. It's like
It's a big D-hole.
Doles are dogs. D-hole, pronounced dole, D-O-L-E, is also known as the Asiatic wild dog, red dog, and the whistling dog. It's about the size of a German shepherd, but looks more like a long-legged fox. There you go. Damn D-holes.
Freaking D-holes. Oh, that's killing me. That's hilarious.
All right. Tag and bag this one for later cuts.
Yeah, I don't know how much more we want to read about D-holes and pandas. Apparently they're colored to avoid predators.
Well, here's the fun thing. Okay, so some drunk Chinese guy was out, long ago, said, "Oh, I saw this black and white fluffy thing," and nobody believed him for 80 years.
Yeah.
So here's the problem: if they were black and white and nobody could find them for 80 years
in a bamboo jungle,
where everything's green, the only thing that could find them was the D-holes.
Those D-holes can find anything.
So then one day, this is probably the story. There was a this black and white thing up in a eucalyptus tree eating it. And probably got drunk on fermented eucalyptus. Fell out of the freaking tree like a drop bear, and probably almost landed on a guy. It took him 80 years to find him. They're black and white in a green forest. What the hell?
That's a travesty, really, but just shows you how good we are in the natural world, right?
Freaking deals.
I can't read any more of this because I think we've already lost the farm on this one, but they're black and white for predators. The end. Thank you for joining us on this.
So they can blend in. They don't look like D-holes.
The D-holes don't know where to attack. There you have it, folks. Never a dull moment here on the portal. I didn't know it was a dole. That's hilarious.
D-O-L-E. So the reason he was calling it D-hole was because it's spelled D-H-O-L-E. But apparently you don't pronounce the H. So it's a dole.
That is hilarious. Why'd they even bother with the H then? Jesus. What the hell? Just throw that away.
I don't know. It's over in China. Who knows? Just disposable letters. So just throw that thing away.
D-hole. That's the funniest thing ever.
Canid native to Central, South, and East and Southeastern Asia.
Oh.
Other English names include the wild dog, Asiatic wild dog, Asian wild dog, Indian wild dog, whistling dog, red dog.
See, all of those I could have just pronounced no problem.
Yeah.
Give me the one that says D-hole.
Scientific name is Coon alpinus.
Okay. All right. Well, here, on the Paranormal Portal news, ladies and gentlemen,
we try to teach.
We love to educate as well as inform. And sometimes we're the only ones getting educated, just it's learning how to read.
How many D-holes are left in the world? Well, let's find out. Oh, look, most of the world.
I know there's pockets of them all over.
It's very specific. It says 2,500 D-holes left.
Now, also on the Paranormal Portal, well, I can tell you they spread. They spread to several cities across America. Oh, and in politics. Apparently.
Never a D-hole moment. Rachel.
Not only has the Paranormal Portal news been a source of entertainment and of learning, and for all of us, as it turns out, it's also the very broadcast where you learned about cows being transported in the back of cars.
True, that's true, yeah.
Now, we got a new article today from Unexplained Mysteries. The cows are getting a little more wild than that, ladies and gentlemen. This is coming from unexplained-mysteries.com. Cow escapes, goes to water park, and rides down a slide.
Nice.
It just bolted. It's that a cow in Brazil was recently filmed staging a daring escape attempt at a nearby water park. Seemingly aware of its imminent demise at a slaughterhouse in Nova Granada earlier this month, the adventurous bovine managed to flee the premises, sparking a rather peculiar chase. The incident ended up going viral when the cow broke into the Indaya Club at De Campo Water Park, headed for one of the pools, then decided to make a break for freedom down a water slide.
Nice.
Footage shows the intrepid bovine having some difficulty keeping its balance as it descended the slide. The owners had turned off the water to make it less slippery for the animal. Fortunately, there weren't many people around, so the cow wasn't too spooked. A member of the staff was ultimately able to get a rope around the cow and lead it to safety. The story even has a happy ending because the staff at the cattle ranch from which the cow had escaped decided to spare its life, and it now lives out its days as a visitor attraction. Come here, kids. This is what hamburgers look like when they're not hamburgers. I looked to see if he had any injuries, but he's fine. He'll stay here at because of the people, said owner Carlos Miguel Sorante. The people want to know where he is. He's been the attraction. Everyone wants to know. We want to take him to the club. Wow. I don't even know what that means. Whatever. For sure.
Up in the club.
He's in the club.
In the club.
But there you go, folks.
Rachel says cows have bucket lists.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah. They're utter maniacs.
Utterly ridiculous.
They're utter maniacs. Thank you. Okay. All right. Well, but that's more of the strangeness you'll find here in the Paranormal Portal News. Now, let's get on to the next fascinating article. And this one is coming, of course, from unexplained-mysteries.com. And this has to do with the moon, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, and an exciting discovery there that I think is pretty cool. This one is the moon has enough oxygen to sustain billions for 100,000 years.
Yeah, I saw this. I didn't
You
get to
did?
read it yet. I didn't get to read it yet, though.
Well, you're in luck because I'm going to read it now.
Nice.
The top layer of the lunar surface holds a surprising amount of oxygen. Alongside advances in space exploration, we've recently seen much time and money invested into technologies that could allow effective space resource utilization. And at the forefront of these efforts has been a laser-sharp focus on finding the best way to produce oxygen on the moon. In October, the Australian Space Agency and NASA signed a deal to send an Australian-made rover to the moon under the Artemis program with a goal to collect lunar rocks that could ultimately provide breathable oxygen on the moon. Although the moon does have an atmosphere, it's very thin, composed mostly of hydrogen, neon, and argon. It's not the sort of gaseous mixture that could sustain oxygen-dependent mammals such as humans. That said, there isn't actually plenty of oxygen on the moon. It just isn't in a gaseous form. Instead, it's trapped inside regolith, a layer of rock and fine dust that covers the moon's surface. If we could extract oxygen from regolith, it would be enough to support human life on the moon. The breadth of oxygen. This might be a longer one, but it's still kind of interesting. Oxygen can be found in many minerals in the ground around us, and the moon is mostly made of the same rocks you'll find on Earth, although a slightly greater amount of material that came from meteors. Minerals such as silica, aluminum, and iron and magnesium oxides dominate the moon's landscape. All of these minerals contain oxygen, but not in a form our lungs can access. On the moon, these minerals exist in a few different forms, including hard rock, dust, gravel, and stones covering the surface. This material has resulted in the impacts of meteorites crashing into the lunar surface over countless millennia. Some people call the moon's surface layer lunar soil, but as a soil scientist, I'm hesitant to use this term. Soil, as we know, is pretty magical stuff that only occurs on Earth and has been created by a vast array of organisms working on the soil's parent material, regolith, derived from hard rock over millions of years. The result is a matrix of minerals which were not present in the original rocks. Earth's soil is imbued with a remarkable physical, chemical, biological characteristics. Meanwhile, the materials on the moon's surface is basically regolith in its original untouched form. One substance goes in to come out. The moon's regolith is made up of approximately 45% oxygen. But the oxygen is tightly bound into the minerals mentioned above. In order to break apart these strong bonds, we need to put in energy. You might be familiar with this if you know about electrolysis. On Earth, the process commonly used in manufacturing, such as produced aluminum, an electrical current is passed through a liquid form of aluminum, commonly called alumina, via electrodes to separate the aluminum from the oxygen. In this case, the oxygen is produced as a byproduct. The moon and the oxygen would be the main product, and the aluminum or other metal extracted could be a potentially useful byproduct. It's a pretty straightforward process, but there is a catch. It's very energy hungry. To be sustainable, it would need to be supported by solar energy or other energy sources available on the moon. Extracting oxygen from regolith would also require substantial industrial equipment. We'll need to first convert soil to metal oxide into liquid form, either by applying heat or heat combined with solvents and electrolytes. We have the technology to do this on Earth, but moving this apparatus to the moon and generating enough energy to run it will be a mighty challenge. Earlier this year, Belgium-based startup Space Application Services announced it was building 3 experimental reactors to improve the process of making oxygen via electrolysis. So there's oxygen on the moon, ladies and gentlemen, and there's efforts to create that oxygen. I guess it could be good as a base to launch deep space or outer space maneuvers or missions or whatever. So, or going to Mars.
This is just one more step to them admitting that there's military bases on the Earth.
Well, I was going to say, man, they could ask the aliens to use some of their.
Yeah, the aliens on the dark side.
Can we plug this into your outlets?
Yeah. Can we borrow some power?
This has got extension cords.
Yeah, exactly. So, hey, can you plug this in for me, please?
Yeah, I just need a little juice.
Oh, you got a solar battery? That's awesome. I'm glad it said it was tightly bound into the minerals, because I was wondering, do we use fire to lift off, or do we use like a compressed air to lift off the moon? Because if we are using fire, like some kind of solid propellant that needs to burn, doesn't oxygen burn? So
yes,
but it has to be removed with high amounts of energy. So
with like if it was a solid form of hydrogen, wouldn't the exhaust probably be water vapor, H2O? I think that is. Don't they use liquid hydrogen for a lot of launching?
Sure. Yeah.
And the exhaust, I think, is just water vapor.
Yeah, but I mean, when they take off from the moon's surface, what do they use?
Yeah, I don't know.
So what kind of propellant? Why But it says that it's not. It's tightly bound and it needs a major energy. So maybe it's not hot enough to break the bonds to create the.
Oh, sure.
So that's where.
Yeah, I think they're talking about you need to make it into a powder first. So they got to grind this stuff down and then apply heat.
It was like that cow last week in CDA was running on the highway. Oh, sorry, my boss is talking to me again. I'm not supposed to talk about my boss. Sorry.
That's fine.
She says you're laughing way too hard about pineapple D-hole. She just called me a D-hole.
I think so. I don't know.
So I was wondering, what propellant do we use to launch off the moon to get back, and why doesn't it cause explosive discharge from the oxygen?
I think you're right. It's just so tightly into these minerals that it's not like it's in a flammable state. Not currently, anyway. But the last article in our newscast tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is, again, unexplained-mysteries.com. Check out this site. It's a great site. Lots of amazing articles, just like the ones we're going over today. But mysterious donut UFO photographed over Switzerland.
Now there's a D-hole.
That's
a
blue D-hole. A photographer in Zurich recently captured this mesmerizing shot of an unexplained object in the sky. Captured in the night of November 8th by Twitter user whatever the hell that is. This mysterious glowing blue spiral has left even astronomers scratching their heads.
Wow.
At the time, he had assumed that what he had photographed was a SpaceX Endeavour capsule, which had been returning from the International Space Station on the same night. After the image was published, however, some experts pointed out this couldn't be the case because the capsule had landed 5,000 miles away in the Gulf of Mexico, meaning that it was on the other side of the world and would not have been visible from Zurich. Re-entry itself was over Mexico and the Gulf of Mexico and would not have been visible from Switzerland, amateur satellite tracker Marco Langbroek told Live Science. The deorbit burn prior to re-entry was over the Indian Ocean, so also not visible from Switzerland. This, of course, begs the question, if it wasn't a SpaceX capsule, then what exactly was it?
It was a D-hole badonut.
It was a D-hole. It was some rogue D-hole. While some online users have speculated that the photograph could be evidence of alien visitors, astronomers have offered up their own suggestions, indicating that it could be either a bright star or the upper stage of a rocket. Boy, that's quite a range.
Yeah.
It's either a bright star or a rocket, folks. As things stand, however, no definitive explanation for the sighting has been found. Well, I don't know. Looks pretty nebulous in a lot of ways. I don't know. Very strange, but it definitely has...
Looks like that's a donut's got a hole.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, it really does. I don't know. It looks... Could be the real thing. Could be another one of those weird UAPs, folks, we've been hearing so much about. But this has been our newscast. We hope you've enjoyed it, and let's get back and see if we can salvage this train wreck a little bit before we're done. All
right.
Well, that was the news, Don.
That was news. That was news.
I learned what D-holes are.
I did too.
I feel so much more informed now.
Yes. I feel so much more deformed now.
Deformed and informed and reformed and malformed.
Goodness. Malformed,
yeah. So.
Yeah, so, yes. Well, actually, I was looking up pandas because there's only 2 specific breeds of pandas.
Oh, okay. All right.
But unfortunately, my computer's slow and,
it's okay. Well, I'm sure you're probably right.
Well, it's probably just it thinks I'm a d-hole, so it's hiding.
Yeah.
So we're not.
The way you treat it probably does think that.
That's what you get for throwing me in your passenger seat. You piece of poop.
Exactly.
Next time, put the seatbelt on.
Strap me in, will you, bastard?
Strap me up.
All right, we're gonna go to a Factinate.com article we've been burning through for a while.
That is factinating.
It's why the Factination, Don.
Oh God.
All right, this is Factinate, and we're going to. I actually figured out. So what had happened was I had this open and was going through it, and I actually had to restart my computer because I installed something. It was like, oh, it's got to restart now, and without thinking, I just clicked OK, and this of course restarted, but it usually holds the place where you're at, but this didn't. So I went through it on the last couple of days and figured out where we left off, because I tried to read it on the last show, Don, and it was I just screwed it all up. So
yeah, I didn't ask you to recover tabs.
No, well, it did. It just didn't bother to see where I was at on that tab.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so I know now where I am. And this is an article, Spooky Season, from Factinate, BEH. I don't remember what that means, but whatever. It's a great article. We've been going through it for a while, but we're on number 55. And this one isn't paranormal, but it's plenty creepy, folks. I did read this before when I was figuring out where we were. And it's number 55, Too Much Information. And again, Factinate.com, folks. So let's go see what it says. One day, my friend and I go to Disney World. I'd renewed my ticket online, but had to take the paper up to the booth for a new pass. We're going to the Magic Kingdom, so we stop by the Ticket and Transportation Center because there isn't a line. Fast forward to later in the day, and I start getting texts that say, hey, how you doing? Weird, because it's from a number I don't recognize, and they call me by name. I don't really hand around my phone number a lot, so it's odd. And I say, hi, person whose name isn't in my phone. So he says his name was Steven and asks what I'm doing with that ugly guy.
Oh, my.
Oof. Okay, so there are people who would know who I'm with, but it is very unlikely it would be anyone who would text me this.
Right.
Also, I'm surprisingly know very few Stevens. The texts go back and forth a bit with him saying not to worry, that I know him. He sends me a WDW, Walt Disney World badge, that has Steven on it. Not sure if he was trying to play the odds on me knowing a Steven who works at Walt Disney World or what. And then says to have a good day at the Magic Kingdom. This adds to the creep factor because we decide to go to Magic Kingdom as we're driving there. Neither of us remembers really telling anyone which park we ended up at. I say that I have no clue who he is because obviously you should say something more by this point if I'm not catching that you're that Steven I actually know. And he sends back, I don't seem to care to find out and to have a good day. So I stop responding because this seems like a good place to end it.
Yeah.
He sends me a maps pin of a screenshot showing directions from wherever he is to my home address with the text, not a bad drive.
Oh.
So my friend and I start walking to guest services because this is obviously no joke. And he's reasonably identified himself as an employee of theirs at this point. It's also worth mentioning that almost no one I knew at that time had my home address because I lived at home and didn't like having people over and bothering my family. The last message he sent me was, LOL, well, don't get too creeped out. I don't want to mess with you that much. I promise you that I'm somebody you already know. He was the guy who printed my pass.
Wow.
In a transaction that took all of 2 minutes max, he decided that he should take my cell and home address off of my account. My understanding is that Disney fired him that day, although they didn't really want to say too much. I think they started moving into liability control.
Yeah.
And even a cop came in and told me that there wasn't a problem. But I chose to file a report anyway because he had my home address.
Yes.
I end up getting a detective call later who tells me that I can press charges, and I do.
Good.
I kind of asked his opinion, and without interfering or interjecting, he said that based on how the guy messaged me, he's probably done it a lot, but I'm the first one to connect the dots and do anything. Get a letter from the state's attorney and sends back that I'm still willing to testify. I've heard nothing since. I'm guessing among all our crazy Florida cases, mine didn't justify much manpower. Luckily, I was at least able to put a face to it because the idiot had his cell phone connected to his Facebook account.
Oh, jeez.
I still get the heebie-jeebies looking through the messages years later. I kept them because the detective instructed me to. Even knowing that the case probably isn't going anywhere at this point, I feel reassured that I have them if anything did happen, since he still has that address. And that's by Lay May Love. Okay. That is creepy, man. I don't know if you're a guy out there, that kind of stuff is not cute. That's not adorable. That's not probably going to get you any dates. It's going to get you a restraining order, most likely. So, yeah, just make small talk. If it doesn't work out, move on. Creepy.
Hey,
creepy.
hope you don't mind that I hijacked your phone number and was just randomly texting you. You want to go for a drink?
Yeah, hey, I'll stop by and pick you up. I already have your address.
Yeah, I'm already there.
I'm right outside. Come on out. Boop, boop. Yeah. Number 56, a sudden change of personality.
Oh.
Late one night, I got a call from a friend I knew was out of town for a conference. My wife and I were in bed, just about ready to turn out the light. My friend was speaking gibberish, but absolutely panicked. She said she was bleeding. She had no idea where she was. Even then, more gibberish, and then she asked me and my wife to pick her up at the airport. Her flight was cut short or something, and she was on her way back. Never got details on why, bad phone reception along with all the other confusion. So we hopped into the car to go pick her up. This is about 11 p.m. Halfway to the airport, she calls again, more absolutely panicked. She's sobbing over and over, I'm sorry. And I was like, there's nothing to be sorry about. I had no idea why she was so panicked. I told her it's okay. And she was phasing between sobbing and just gibberish. Also, she wasn't flying back. She was in a hotel. We drove next to a mountain and lost the cell signal, but she sounded sure she wasn't flying back tonight. The airport wouldn't let her fly. They thought she was loaded. So we turned around and tried calling her for an hour or so. She finally called us. She was in a dark hotel room 2 time zones away, not where her flight was headed, but the layover location, and she didn't know if someone was with her in the room, or maybe they had left the room and were coming back. She had no idea why she was there or what hotel it was. Normally, she's a very sharp woman. I had to walk her through the steps of looking at hotel stationery to get a name of the hotel, maybe the address. I had to tell her to look on the phone for the phone number. She's still sobbing and speaking gibberish. She said she was bleeding from her head and her glasses were broken.
Wow.
Yeah, it was absolutely shocking and grim and so creepy to hear it coming from her and not able to take any kind of command of the situation. I called 911 in the city where the hotel was located to get some officers to do a wellness check on her. They took her to the hospital. She'd been roofied on the airplane and couldn't tell us anything else about what happened to her. We picked her up from the airport the next day, and she remembered very, very little of it and seemed to be in complete denial despite wearing the same clothes she left in and had blood smeared on her forehead and busted glasses. But I remembered the panic calls and the helplessness. It bothered me for weeks, maybe months. It's still one of the creepiest things I've ever experienced.
Yeah, no doubt.
Man, this is the creepy guy thread, isn't it? Ugh. Wow. Yikes.
Could we say they're a bunch of D-holes?
Those guys are D-holes for sure.
Definitely.
Number 57, misunderstandings really bug me. They bug you, Don?
I hate misunderstandings.
Yeah, she doesn't like you much either.
Yeah. Oh,
Thank
you.
you.
Oh, God. Oh, Jesus.
I was in Italy near the Alps when I was around 7.
I thought you said I'm an idiot.
I did not.
I misunderstood.
Yeah.
But
there you go. And I would walk down the hill to play with this kid that lived there, even though neither of us could understand each other. The kid had a dog that we would play with too. One day, when I walked down there, the whole yard was covered in bugs. There must have been locusts or some equivalent, but they were everywhere. I was about to turn and run, but I saw a mass in the middle of the yard, and I realized it was the dog just laying covered in bugs. Oh. I thought it might be dead, but I ran to it and pulled in his collar, and he kept looked up at me and then just put his head back down. I kept pulling and was yelling for the neighbor kid. No one responded. I then convinced the dog to get up, and at this point, bugs were also covering me, and I was terrified. Ugh. I pulled the dog into this shed, and I hid in there with him and cried. I think I was there for maybe like 10 minutes, and there was a knock. It was the neighbor looking at me through the window. He opened the door and started yelling at me, but I couldn't understand him. I looked behind him, and the yard that was previously covered in a plague of bugs was now empty. I tried explaining what happened, but it was all lost in translation. I didn't go back there ever again.
Wow.
I don't blame you. Ugh. I don't know what kind of bugs they were, but that's obviously some kind of illusion, right?
Yeah, it's it was probably Dorothy through the field of poppies.
Yeah, maybe.
The dog's like, "What the hell?"
But I'm just laying here, dude. Leave me alone. He's seeing the thing covered in bugs. Ugh. It's a little kid too, so it's not like he's somebody sporting some weird substances and then heading around.
Yeah.
That's weird. Number 58, found in translation.
Oh.
Okay. Myself and 6 friends, aged 18 to 28, mixed European group, were on a 5-day river canoe trip. Our guides were an older 60s rough-looking German guy and a slightly younger but shifty-looking Orinoco Basin native. One of our group knew fluent German, but for some unexplained reason, didn't share with the guide that she could speak it.
Oh.
Later told us she didn't want the creepy dude making comments to her that no one else could understand. We were 3 days in, roughing it in hammocks on the side of the river, not having seen a village for at least 8 hours. The guides kind of kept themselves to themselves after dinner, which is fine. But this evening they were a bit further away, and we could tell they were having a pretty heated discussion in a mix of German and local dialect. Suddenly the German girl in the group turns white and looks terrified, and it takes us a few minutes to calm her down. She explains she heard the German guy talk about making sure the others will be at that place and they will have the guns, and that the crocodiles will get rid of the guys and the girls will go with them to some village the day after next. We kind of freaked out, but decided that being alone with these 2 dudes, days from anywhere in the middle of the rainforest, we were pretty much trapped. We decided on a plan, which fortunately went our way. Early the next day, we decided that the next time we saw another canoe expedition pass us, we would essentially shout and scream at them that we were kidnapped and needed help. Fortunately, a 4-canoe group came past, and we enacted our plan. Our guides immediately just got the heck out of there. Didn't even protest about our crazy accusations or anything, other than to pull a sawed-off shot 12-gauge from under a blanket and pointed at us to stop us chasing them, which kind of elevated us that they were planning to kill/traffic us, and they didn't hang around to get caught. We got taken to the nearest village a few hours down a branching tributary, where we explained the situation to the local authorities and some soldiers that were on exercise or something. Turns out there was a suspected killer operating out of the area targeting tourists going into the forest, active since 1996.
Wow.
I was never able to corroborate any of the info we were told by the authorities using any Western media sources or internet searches. We still occasionally email each other about our close call, but it's been 20 years and we've moved on with our lives. I've never told a family or my wife, and I don't think anyone else ever told more than a handful of people.
Wow.
Yeah, that's creepy. I mean, could you imagine you're on a canoe trip and it's like, they don't think you speak the language. They're like, yeah, the Crocs will get the bodies and they'll traffic the women and get the guns. Woo! Oh, yeah, you got a pretty mouth.
You got a pretty mouth, boy.
Yeah, that was by Yeah, Not Quite. That's creepy. Number 59, good decision. I ran on the track team in high school, and during my first 2 years, I rode the late after school bus to get home. On Tuesday and Thursdays, there were 2 buses that took students home, but on Mondays and Fridays, everyone had to ride one bus, and the bus was driven by this really creepy guy.
Was he wearing a clown suit?
He would look at the girls through a rearview mirror and stare at them for lengthy periods of time while giving this really unsettling smile, which made all the girls uncomfortable.
Yeah.
One day, this guy was the bus driver who took our team to a track meet at another school. The buses would normally stay parked in the parking lot during the duration of the meet. Well, I had a while until my next race, so I decided to go and watch my teammates run, and I went to watch by the gate, which was near the track's entrance. It started to drizzle, so I go to stand under this pavilion to keep dry, and after a few minutes, I see the bus driver there, and he comes over and asks me if I want to get in the bus and keep out of the rain. At this point, I'm really nervous, but I say yes anyway because I'm afraid of what will happen if I say no. So the 2 of us start heading to the bus, and I'm freaking out when a few of my male teammates see that I'm about to get on the bus, and they decide they want to get out of the rain too. They come over to the bus as I'm about to get on and ask if they can get on, but the bus driver shakes his head and says, "Not you guys, just her." Now I'm really scared, and I stutter out that I'm sorry, but I don't want to go on the bus anymore, and I take off with the bleachers, where I stayed for the rest of the meet. Even though nothing happened, I still get sort of queasy thinking about what could have happened if those guys hadn't come and I had gotten on the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot of paranormal in this list right now, is there?
No, there's not.
That's enough disturbing stuff for now, right?
Yeah, let's go to something else.
Let's go to something that's not quite so twisted and dark. There was the bugs, I guess, was the only paranormal story we ran into. But that's okay. I hope you guys don't mind.
Why would any teacher want you to read Deliverance in high school? What the hell? Now I know what the hell's wrong with you, Rachel.
Oh, she read it in high school?
Yeah, apparently it was required.
I was like, To Kill a Mockingbird. That was the one I had to read.
That and Frankenstein and Count of Monte Cristo and.
No, I didn't read any of those.
Deliverance? Are you kidding me?
Is that a book?
It is. Yeah.
Oh.
It was a book. Yeah.
Oh, did it start out as a book and then it got made in the movie?
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hope.
Yeah, that's some troubling reading, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's wow.
That's some wow kind of stuff there.
Yeah,
that last story was written by Occasionally Sarah. Wonder who else she is.
Curiously, she might be Sybil.
Yeah, that's for weirdness.
She says, "Yeah, it was something else." Yeah,
all right,
a weird teacher. I mean, some Edgar Allan Poe or some H.P. Lovecraft. That's classic stuff, but Deliverance is not classic.
All right, now I found one about another creature. This is from animalien.com, and we visit animalien.com here and there throughout the shows, but this looks like a really cool article, so I was kind of excited to read this one with you guys. I've not pre-read it, so we're going to find out together what's going on here. But from animalien.com, the hunter met a mysterious wild man who asked for help in a female voice.
Huh.
That's not what you hear every day, folks. But this is kind of a creature feature here on the Paranormal Portal, so let's see what it says. It's a Reddit user Perpetual Connection recently told a story that he encountered something very strange and frightening in the night forest. We publish his story below. It says, I'm a hunter. I like to hunt wild boar specifically. Though I have been deer hunting and have been known to get a turkey for Thanksgiving, I mostly hunt boar. For those of you that don't know, boars are a big problem in the United States.
Uh-huh.
A sow can have 2 litters per year, and it's not uncommon for a litter to consist of 10 or more pigs. Given that pigs eat everything and anything, it's not hard to see why the Department of Fish and Wildlife makes it legal to hunt them with almost no restrictions.
Right.
In my state, it's illegal to hunt most large mammals with night or thermal vision scopes, but with the exception of boar and coyote. I've been saving for a year, mostly fun money. It's hard to explain to your wife that a scope that costs literally twice as much as the rifle I was mounting it on was worth it.
Yep.
But I did it. I took it to a range and sighted it in. There was an area that was peppered with boar activity that I knew would be perfect for a night hunt. It was easily accessible with my truck, with easy-to-find spots that I could set up in that overlooked a large, easy-to-navigate clearing. The night started uneventful, mostly me tinkering with my new toy, cycling through the settings. I was a little impatient. I'd spotted multiple deer, but they were out of season, and like I mentioned earlier, my current setup wasn't legal for deer. I moved to another spot I'd seen days earlier that probably wasn't much better than my first, but it gave me something to do and a new angle to look around with my new scope. After an hour or so of glassing the area, it dawned on me. This spot doesn't have much animal activity at all. No rabbit or owls. The deer that I'd seen were hundreds of yards from where I was. Why is this pocket of land so dead at night, but lively in the day? I'd set up at around 10 p.m. and it was about 2 a.m. when I started to think about packing it up, maybe setting up a target before I left, taking some practice shots. I heard a crunch come from the direction I came from before. I panned my scope over and saw the silhouette of a small bear pushing through the bushes. It's important to note that my scope isn't exactly night vision. It's a thermal scope, kind of like a black and white version of what you see in the Predator movies. While I adjusted my range and zoomed a little, I remember jolting a little when I saw that it wasn't really a bear.
Oh.
It was a man.
Oh.
Because he was so low and hunched over, I thought I was looking at a young bear. Is that a game warden? It couldn't be. I would have seen headlights coming up the road from where I was perched. And where could he have come from? I was 30 miles away from anything and on public lands. I was about to call out when I adjusted my sights and noticed he was naked. No shoes, pants, or anything. I remember being disturbed by his movements like a squirrel or something, twitchy and grabbing at the foliage, sniffing around and palming the tree. Was that my tree? The one I'd been leaning against earlier? The thought terrified me. Could he smell me? Then he did something I still have nightmares about today. He squatted and placed his hands in the dirt between his feet and stared straight up like a dog mid-howl. And I heard it. A voice coming from that direction, a very compelling female voice. Help! I'm lost! There was a long pause, but neither of us moved a muscle. The center of my sights was trained at the dirt in front of his feet. I couldn't bring myself to aim directly at another person. It went against everything I'd been taught about firearms. Were they lost? Was this some guy that had gone crazy out here? Why was his voice so feminine? Help, please, I can't walk, the voice called out. That's when I called BS. Not only could he walk, when I first saw him, he was traversing the land with ease for a naked person, so good I mistook him for a bear. That's a trap. This guy is trying to lure me in with a damsel in distress routine.
Right.
Luckily, the lack of activity before had caused me to pack up most of my gear, and I think I may have left behind a hat or a sitting pad, but I didn't give a darn.
A poop?
Didn't give a darn at that moment. I took my eyes off him for a moment to get my pack on. I buckled my chest strap and scrambled for my rifle, and to my horror, he was in the same position, but his face was staring in my direction, and I swear I saw a smile. A thermal scope has an effect that makes animals' eyes appear white. How the hell had he heard me get up and put my gear on? He must have been at least 150 yards away. Screw you, I screamed in that direction. He stood upright, and it hit me how tall and skinny he was. Easily 6 feet and very lean. He took a couple of long strides in my direction, and I instinctively sent around sailing above his head into the tree line. He was freaky as hell, but he hadn't really threatened me. What would I tell the cops? I was unwilling and unready to shoot someone. He stopped dead in his tracks and hunched down on all fours. The next one will screw you up. Go away. He stayed on all fours, and this time I had my sights trained on the center of him. His eyes were just above the grass like a large cat or something. I was trying to stop my trembling and knew that my voice had cracked a little on that last warning. I was terrified. That standoff probably only lasted a minute or two, maybe less, but it felt like forever. In an instant, he bolted left towards the tree line opposite the road. So much for not being able to walk. I could barely keep him in my scope. He was moving so fast. He disappeared into the brush, and I sent another bullet sailing high in his direction. I racked another round and tried to poke that mag and swap for a fresh one, but I dropped it and didn't bother looking for it. I wasn't far from my truck, and I wanted to get out of there. I could hear him in the distance yelling in this weird sound that could have been a laugh or a cry. I scrambled up the trail and arrived at my truck, breathless. I tossed my gear into the cab, but kept the rifle in the passenger seat and sped off. For the longest time, I told that story from the perspective of having spotted some deranged crackhead living off the land like some kind of caveman. I reported it to Fish and Game, but all they did was scold me for hunting at night alone. Never received an update. It wasn't until I told this story at a camping trip that my nephew told me about Wendigos, rakes, and skinwalkers. My story scared the piss out of him because the spot we were camping was technically the same forest I'd seen the bastard just 50 miles east of it. He was so spooked his mom, my cousin, had to take him home. She was really mad. Really pissed. I've gone down the rabbit hole on these scary stories. I'm not saying what I saw was definitely a Wendigo or a skinwalker. I'm saying that if such a thing exists, I may have dodged quite the bullet that night, Or maybe it was just the tweaker being Donnie Thornberry in the middle of the night. Either way, thought I'd share. Believe what you like. These are the events as I recall them. And no, I'm no writer. Wow. That's interesting. Now, being slimmer like that, what do you think?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, it's not a Bigfoot, obviously.
How about stick Indian?
Yeah, aren't they littler though? Aren't they like smaller?
No, they're according to what Naysay talked about them several times.
I've heard different versions of stick Indian. I've heard like them being like buckwas and duende size, and I've heard them being people size. So I'm not quite sure.
Well, I think people size, maybe a little bit bigger, maybe a little larger, emaciated, skin and bones.
Sure.
Ghoulish, I would say. That's what I understand of them, because they supposedly were a tribe that fell on hard times, and they were starved and started eating each other, and so that's the way I understand it. So that's just like boiled down to brass tacks. But
I don't know, folks. It's a strange story, because a skinwalker might work for that,
right?
But there wasn't any transformation really. It just looked like a guy running around naked. Never did transform. Rake, maybe a rake. Or ghoul, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Could be something like that. Could be something else entirely. Every once in a while we get these stories that are kind of one-offs. And I don't think this is one of those. I think this is something like we've just covered, but it's certainly a unique take on it. Now, I was expecting it looked like a human, but with fur all over. But he never says that. He just says it was naked. So it sounds like it's not a Bigfoot.
Right.
But it's something not human either, or at least not normal human, as the case may be. But what a great story. That's very interesting. Did you like that one, Don?
Yeah, I did like that one, yeah.
Yeah, me too. I thought that was really well done. So that's the first real story, I guess, of all the weird stories we're covering tonight. The next ones, I got a couple here that are coming from Lon Strickler. In phantomsandmonsters.com, and Lon's a great guy, and he's been posting a lot of articles over on Paranormal Portal fans page, which is really cool, and along with Brent Swanser as well. So we got a couple amazing contributors putting their articles up on Paranormal Portal fans. So if you're not already a member, become a member over there. But let's check this out, and this is from November 17th, actually from today. He just posted this today too, so but I want to cover this because I love what they're doing over there, obviously. And he always gets some of the most amazing claims, people contacting him. It says, bizarre white floating mass observed on Colorado hiking trail. Now that's kind of interesting to me, because I'll tell you, it could be something spiritual, but it could be something else. It could be something that's maybe it's transdimensional or something. But I was always compelled by these videos that I ran into years and years ago. And maybe some of you have seen them, but basically I've talked about them before on the show. But essentially they look like clouds. But they look like clouds that are like cotton candy, except they kind of do fall apart, and they seem to have a real mist quality to them. There's this one video. I'll have to hunt for it and see if I can find it.
Are you talking about the one that
the guy gets out of his car
and it was like next to a chain link fence
or
something?
Yes, exactly.
I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, if you can, please send me the link, because that's one we could show on the show, and you guys can make of it what you think. There's actually a couple of them. There's one of it going through a parking lot in what seems like an urban setting in the U.S. too. Yeah, but let's check out this article. It says, bizarre white floating mass observed on a Colorado hiking trail. And Lon starts out, a couple encounters of bizarre white blurry mass along a state park hiking and trail in Colorado. And ladies and gentlemen, definitely head over to phantomsandmonsters.com. They've got thousands of articles over there. Some great information and some incredible research they're doing. So lots of great stuff to check it out. It says, I recently came across the following accounts. I'm not very well versed in the paranormal. I am pretty experienced with hiking and the outdoors, and I've spent quite a lot of time hiking and camping in both Colorado and the White Mountains. as well as hiking abroad in Morocco, Iceland, Switzerland, and a few other locations abroad. I'm very comfortable outdoors and in the woods, and while I like to think of myself as pretty level-headed hiker. That being said, something happened this week that neither I nor my boyfriend have been able to explain. We took our dog out for a walk in the state forest close to our home in Colorado. We arrived at around 4:30 p.m., which is unfortunately dusk in our area at this time of year. We figured no problem, well-marked trails in a populated area. We'd just gotten out of the car, gotten our dog leashed up, and had started up a paved trail onto the path. We'd only been walking for about 2 minutes when I got an unmistakable, alarmed feeling. I've never felt this in all of my years spent in the outdoors, and I immediately felt as if something was watching us. We have a very alert, very active dog who can hear a squirrel from quite a distance. He didn't look alarmed. It wasn't acting out of the norm, so I tried to brush the feeling off, but only a moment later I looked up and saw something that I have absolutely no explanation for. About 20 yards ahead of us, I saw a white mass floating between two trees. It was floating about 4 feet off the ground. I physically could not wrap my head around what it was that I was looking at. It was almost shaped like a Band-Aid. I have no idea how else to describe it. It was staticky and not quite a solid shape. It was about 1.5 to 2 feet tall from the top to bottom. I have great vision, but the mass was blurry and kind of twisting and spinning in place. I tried to focus on it, but I just couldn't get a clear vision of what it was, despite still having some sunlight to work with. I grabbed my boyfriend and immediately pulled him towards me and pointed and said, "What the hell is that?" I think this was the first time in my life that I felt fight or flight kick in at full capacity. He laughed and thought I was messing with him, but it quickly became clear that I wasn't, and he turned to look, and just as he did, the mass floated to the right and ducked behind a tree. We stood and watched it for a moment. The mass floated from behind the tree, one tree to another, and it was almost like it was peering out and looking back at us. My boyfriend equated it to playing hide and seek with a child, who is poorly hidden but peeks around the corner to see if he can see them. It made a few more bizarre floating movements before it disappeared. We stood there for a minute or so, waiting to see if it would reappear, and trying to rationalize what we had just seen. We did move a bit closer just to confirm that there was no trash or any debris in the area that could have been looking at, and there was not. We headed back to the car and called it a day after that. It's been a few days since this happened, and we still have absolutely no idea what we could have seen. We were not huge believers in the paranormal, but I've been digging through some paranormal sites this evening to try and find out what we were looking at. We know that it was not a human or an animal, and we have not been able to find any other explanation for what the hell we could have just seen. Would love to hear if anyone has any ideas or has any similar experience to ours. Also, from my reading on these subreddits this evening, I do want to preface with some obvious LOL. We were both well rested, sober, and do not use any type of drugs or take any medications. That's very interesting. I don't know what the hell they saw. But it reminded me, that description reminded me kind of that cloud. Did you find it?
I am sending you the link right now.
Oh, very cool. Very cool, ladies and gentlemen, because that means we'll be able to check it out here together. And the link would be here. Let's see. Okay. Here it is. Okay. Let me just do this. Let me do this. Whoops. Let me not do that. Let me do this. Copy. All right, I'm going to put it over here on this page.
Oh, you're going to open up another tab?
I'm going to close that one. Just in case. Right. All right, so we're going to check out that video now. That one that I was describing before. And ladies and gentlemen, there's a few things that I love about this video. One of which is that it's from 2011. It's not from the U.S. It's from somewhere abroad. But even though the quality is real, it's kind of low, I like these old kind of videos like this because it just seems less likely that there is any hoaxing going on here. Like, the poor quality of the camera, the poor filming, and how well this object fits into the scene really makes me believe that what we're watching was what was observed. Sometimes I like those really crappy videos from the way back because it's before all of this mega, CGI stuff was able to be done at least as well. And back
wasn't able to do by everybody.
Right. Now, a kid with a laptop and a little know-how can create, aliens landing in your backyard and look like they were there. But this is the video. Tell me what you think. But here it is, and this is coming from LiveLeak. It looks like is that their site? LiveLeak, or what site was it? What is is there any background? The amazing falling cloud that stopped a bemused motorist who filmed it in Marvel. Part of the cloud molds through a fence when it got stuck. He posed with the cloud when it got stuck in the fence and even stuck his hand into it.
Right.
And so that's kind of the background of what we're looking at here. Again, it's 3 minutes. I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me play it. I'm not going to play the sound, though, because the sound is absolutely...
it's horrendous.
It's just truck noise, but here... Oh, I should probably put it on screen, huh? Derp. All right, I'm going to actually put it like this so you guys can see it with us. Here's the video. And that's the cloud thing. Now, it does look like it's got a static shape. In other words, it kind of tumbles and moves around like that, but... It looks like it's almost made out of cotton. It does shift and change a little, but as you continue watching. So he's sitting in his car right now filming this, and as you watch it, you'll see that it comes down to the ground, and this is where it's coming to now. You can see it's actually changing shape, and I find that really, really interesting. And there it is. It actually has a shadow. It's not a bad shadow. It looks like it fits. Now it kind of hit the fence. And it did stop. Like it has some kind of mass to it. Mm-hmm. It's not just simply vapor. Breaks off some stuff. I don't know. Just keep watching it. It almost looks like an intelligent creature. Not necessarily intelligent like people smart, but like it's alive. And keep watching, because I know now it looks like just like a cotton swab or something, but look at how it breaks off and how it looks like cotton breaking off. It
looks like snow. Like you took something like it.
But as you watch, even that cotton kind of fades and it just kind of fades away. It's very interesting, and unless it's some weird chemical stuff that we don't know. But I always watched this and went, "What is it?" Now it looks like more of a cylinder, and you can see the guy's starting to go closer to it. I don't know. There's people that are reacting to it. He's getting out of the car. There we go. This is when it kind of gets interesting. So a lot of the stuff that broke off of it just kind of evaporated or something.
Right.
But,
dissipated.
Yeah, it's like it's stuck in the fence, and that's what's interesting. And you'll see the guy go up to it, and he actually puts his hand into it. And you almost think, what are you doing? You shouldn't probably do that. Because if it is something that's alive, you don't know what it is. Could be like a cloud of botulism or something. Look at, he's kind of putting his finger into it. I don't know. Maybe it is. I mean, look at how his hand fades in it and stuff. And you can see it has a changing now he's made a hole in it. And it's like, how do you know you're not killing it? But very, very strange. I've never known what to make of this. And what I always thought was that could there be beings that maybe look kind of like clouds? They live up in the high skies. We hear about fairies that are in the clouds. What if this is something of that sort? Like they're an actual being, or maybe maybe they're like some kind of gaseous jellyfish or something. Like they're a collection of organisms. And you don't know. I mean, he zoomed in now to that hole he made. You can see the fence in the middle of it.
Right.
What is it? I don't know. There's still pieces of it stuck. So is it something dying and just came down to What the hell's going on now?
Well,
That's pretty much it.
so that's pretty much it. But there's a couple comments in here.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'd love to hear people's comments on
So
that.
Rachel,
Uh-huh.
she says there's an old science fiction movie about cloud-like creatures that feed on air pollution in the upper atmosphere. Can't remember the title, but I think it was written by Spider Robinson. Never heard of him.
Yeah, I've never heard of him either.
Justin Williams, pretty sure I saw this video a long time ago. Is a pollution chemical spill into the nearby ocean, causing bubble foam, which blew ashore all over.
Oh, that could be. I guess that's possible.
Maggie says, I love gravy.
I heard it was foam in India, JCL, Ohio.
Yeah, and then Justin Williams goes on to say it was chemicals pollution. The government covered up the spill in the ocean. Weather Channel has a show that did a big segment, 100% explaining this video with more footage of this that's not in the video. So I will have to look into that. So
Okay.
there you go.
Very cool. Thank you.
Okay,
And that's
so- and
that's
that
why I
was
love
in-
doing this, is because
Was
if
that in India?
yeah, I guess so.
Um,
But I love that you guys bring so much of this to the table. I had no idea. I'd seen it years and years and years ago. I was like, what is that? It does look like it has a form, like
Right.
it's something to it, but I guess some kind of foamy pollutant could be a great possibility. That makes sense to me. Probably makes a hell of a lot more sense than some kind of cloud creature. But this is the Paranormal Portal, so we leave room for cloud creatures as well. But no, I think that makes sense, and I think that probably is the answer. So thank you guys, because you helped to close up this mystery. This is one of those things that's been sitting in my head for years. Like, well, what does that mean? What does this mean? What is this all about? So that's really cool. Again, I don't pretend to know anything, folks. So, this isn't I have all the answers. Come listen. I just have ideas, and I'm glad you guys bring what you got to the table too, because that is way cooler. We all learn. Not just the paranormal.
wow,
Portal
we've
news.
been learning a lot today, haven't we?
I know. We know what D-holes are now.
Yep.
And we know what polluted foam looks like,
Yep.
and that guy stuck his hand into it. Oh. Dude, he's going to die. He's going to die because of his curiosity. Curiosity killed the cat.
Yeah, and Isaac says it looks like soap suds. Yeah,
It does. It really does.
It really does look like all of that stuff.
It does kind of change shape, though, too, which I found really weird. It's like, well, if it was one form, how did it become all those others? It looked like it was changing shape as it was moving, but I guess that could be any number of reasons. It could be atmospheric, could be a little breeze causing it to shift and changing shape. So I'm not, trying to imply it has to be paranormal. In fact, I love it when you guys bring answers like that to the table. So I appreciate that, guys. Thank you.
Right.
Cloud falls out of the sky onto the ground. There was another one in a parking lot very similar to that.
Yeah. Okay. Let me get you that one. Here we go. And this one, copy
Oh, you got it already?
and send. I think this is the one you're talking about.
Probably.
That one.
Probably is. Let me pull it up here. Oops, there it is. Oh. Yeah, I think this is the one too. Yep.
And there was the one that was going down the middle of the road, and people were in cars.
Oh, wow.
Did you remember that one?
I don't really, but
Okay.
I remember this.
Kind of have
Whoops.
followed this stuff.
This one I remember. Yep, I think this is the right one. Or at least this is one I'm thinking of. I mean, they're all the right ones, but I just want to pull them up and put them on the screen here so we can share those as well, because we're talking about creatures, Paste. And these are some kind of creature. Even if they're pollutant creatures. That's like, hell, that's most of Godzilla,
Yeah.
catalog right there.
Yep.
Pollution creatures, come on. All right, so let me do this. All right, so what is this from? Captain America channel from 85 subscribers.
Huh?
So, thank you, Captain America. Let's check and see what you got here. And it says, wake DF up. That's a cloud. Okay, well, let's see what the video is here. Here we go. We're not going to listen to his dialogue, but we'll just watch it. It's 37 seconds, so not a whole lot going on here, but it is strange. So this is, did some of it get stuck on the power line? Frame it, dude. What the hell are you doing? Oh, that was a weird shift.
Yeah, he was going from the one that was up in the air.
Oh,
to the
this
ones
is
that were-
another one?
Yeah. Oh, it does kind of look like a compilation now that I'm looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a compilation. Yeah. Well, so I mean, if one of them could be a pollutant, I would think that they all could. I guess. That's just a cloud falling. I don't think we're going to bother with that, but very interesting. Very interesting. So, I don't know. Maybe that is the most obvious answer, right? That it's something that's I've never seen it before, so I had no. It's one of those things that if you're seeing something strange and unusual you've never seen before, it can be anything. But again, once you guys said, "Hey, they explained it. It was a pollution spill in the ocean creating this foam." It's like, oh, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. So, very cool. Always learning together. What was this one? Did we read this one? Yeah, we read through this whole thing. Yeah. Okay, I can close it. I can close it because now we're going to go on to our next submission from Phantoms and Monsters tonight, folks. And this one, again, is from November 17th, which is today. Thank you again to Lon Strickler for letting us showcase this on the show. But this one is light gray crawler humanoid encountered in Norfolk, UK.
Ah.
Light gray crawler humanoid encountered in Norfolk, United Kingdom. A British woman is driving along A556 near her home, Norwich, Norfolk, when a light gray crawler humanoid ran across the road in front of her. Have you had a similar encounter? Let Lon know. It says, I was driving home at around 3 a.m. I was driving on the A556 near Norwich and Norfolk, which is in the middle of nowhere. It's not well lit and surrounded by forest. I pretty much know this road like the back of my hand as I've driven back and forth, mostly at night, on it for a long time. There are streetlights, but they're quite dim, and they don't do a great job of lighting up the road ahead. Now, as a bit of background, I'm generally a calm driver. I don't know why, as I'm quite frantic in real life, but when I'm behind the wheel, nothing seems to faze me at all. But on that night in June 2020, I'm pretty sure I nearly had a heart attack. I was driving along the road as per usual on my way back home. The only way to best describe this incident is to say that about 150 yards ahead of my car out in the woods came this humanoid creature, and it bolted straight into the road. It was light gray color and was hunched over on all fours, but it could easily be about 8 or 9 feet tall if it stood upright. This thing bolted out into the road at an unnatural speed and disappeared into the bit of woods on the other side of the road. Now, there are 4 lanes and no central reservation, so it was a straight run or sprint across. I tried to rationalize this as a bird, but I just knew for a fact that it wasn't. Like I said before, I'm a very calm driver, but as soon as I saw this thing, I instantly turned freezing cold and started sweating, almost on the verge of crying. I don't know why my rationalization was, but some part of me wanted to slam on my brakes out of panic to take a breath, but I just put my foot down and drove way too fast to get away from what it was I just saw. I don't necessarily know if it's relevant, but I remember looking at the clock after it had crossed into the woods, and it was dead on 3 a.m.
Huh.
Apparently this is a strange hour for unexplained things to go on. If anyone else has had a similar experience or knows what the hell this thing was, I'd love to hear it, because even thinking about it gives me the cold chills.
Huh.
Yeah, that's horrible. Very horrible. I don't know, those old crawler things. And again, that's another name for the ghoul, the rake. That people are calling them crawlers now. That's the newest name. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what the hell they are, but they're out there. They seem to be anyway, folks. Let's see, what are we going to do now here? This is from Just for Spooks. This was one that we were kind of into. And I kind of left it aside for a long time, but I found it again when I was going through my tab forest.
Yeah.
And I found this one, and it's from justforspooks.com. It's 10 real stories that can't be explained rationally. Which is right up our alley, as it turns out. Right, Don?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so this is The Bad Feeling. Let's pull it up. When I was in university, I lived by myself. I would honestly think nothing of walking places at night. There was a 24-hour McDonald's and a 7-Eleven I would walk to, often between 12 a.m. and 3 a.m. since I was a massive night owl. This one I think we might have read, but we'll just read it again anyway. Well, one day after finishing an essay at about 2 in the morning, I decided I was hungry, but didn't have anything easy to cook, so I decided to walk down to the 7-Eleven, grab a pie or something. However, as soon as I opened my door, I was overcome by a suffocating feeling of fear. My heart started pounding, I started shaking, the works. Telling myself that this was ridiculous, walked out to the streets with the intent to still go, but that was as far as I got. I was terrified for no reason that I could understand. But no less intensely despite that, I ran back inside and just ate dry cereal. Later the next day, I heard about a group of drunk guys that were causing havoc down near the intersection at 7-Eleven. They'd beaten up someone from my university, even though I can't explain it. I'm convinced something bad would have happened to me that night if I had ignored this feeling and gone anyway. That was by Vivian Lake. Yeah, well, good. Yeah, always listen to that stuff. Yeesh. Intuition, Don.
Intuition.
Don't you know?
Always listen to your gut.
Always listen to your guts.
My instincts, too, but I don't listen to it.
I can't smell your ins. The Mannequins is next.
Ooh.
When I was younger, my mom was dating this guy we'll call JB, and after a few months, he invited my mom and me and my brother to go with him and his son, about my age, out to his lake house for the weekend. His grandfather had helped to build the place with the grandfather's dad, and then he lived there for most of his life, working as a tailor in the nearby town. Well, when we went up to the attic to get a beach toys, I noticed in the corner covered in some dust and cobwebs about 8 mannequins, some just upper torso and some full body. Not too out of the ordinary, considering the tailor had lived there. Me and JB's son slept down in the living room on the couch since there were no more beds. And near midnight-ish, I heard on the stairs squeak a few times. Figuring it was my mom coming to check on me to make sure we were asleep, I told his son to be quiet and quickly turned the TV off and hid under the covers. After not hearing any noise for a few minutes, I looked out from under the covers and saw 3 of the mannequins moving around in the kitchen.
What?
Like their body parts weren't moving, but they were sliding around the kitchen. I swore I was dreaming, but was so terribly frightened, I hid back under the covers with a small yelp, and then heard the dragging on the floor coming closer, and peeked out, seeing one of them just a few feet from the couch. I hid back under the covers and shut my eyes tight, hoping it would go away. The next morning I got up and tried not to think about it, really, really hoping it was just a bad dream. But when we went back up to the attic to put the beach stuff back, the mannequins were in different spots and weren't covered in cobwebs anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. That's creepy.
Wow. Hold on a sec, because I had something. Something just came to mind. Somebody sent me something. Where was it? Was it in TikTok or? No, I think it was just a. But it's kind of pertinent.
Pertinent.
To what we were just talking
We
about.
love pertinent.
Let's see here.
Let's go to Don Cam while we watch. Let's watch Don work. That's his concentration look.
Oh, I'm not finding it. But it basically said, what if ghosts couldn't see us, and at 2 a.m. they're wondering who the heck's down there making noodles? That'd be like me. But that was kind of anticlimactic. But
No, it was fine.
But, what if we're invisible to ghosts, and they wonder who the heck that is making
Oh, yeah. Well,
noodles at 2 a.m. in their house?
There's plenty of accounts of people bumping into spirits and what they're perceiving as spirits. But
what if ghosts can't see us either, and they're scared as shit because who the hell's making noodles at 2 a.m.? Yeah. So there you go. But anyway.
There's lots of accounts of people that are seeing people in their period dress, but they're looking at the people with a scared look while the people are scared looking at these ghostly figures.
Right.
And so it does stand to reason that maybe there are moments in just the right circumstances where this window opens up between our times, because time is a vibration essentially. So perhaps, all time could be existing at the same moment It's the non-Euclidean space-time idea or something like that. And so what if at certain times, under certain conditions, there's more of a transparency in the barriers between our times, and we can see the past and they can see us. There's many accounts of people finding themselves in different time periods on, places like, where is it? In Liverpool, there's a place that's really famous for people experiencing time slips there, then that's what a time slip is. You basically see, but maybe some people don't actually, in those moments where you're seeing a ghost and they're seeing you and both are looking scared,
Right.
maybe it's not really a time slip, but it's just a portal, just an opening or a thinning perhaps, where you could see into their time period and they can see into ours. And so, who knows? Maybe some legends have been born by people having those experiences, like, I saw an angel. And, it'd be just somebody in like 80s clothes. But, in a Victorian sense, that would look like these shiny angels or whatever, or who knows. But it's possible. I mean, that's certainly possible. But anyway,
Strange.
Very strange. But it isn't unprecedented at all. So let's get back to the article here. This is the time traveler, oddly enough. Woof. That's amazing. Wow. The next one is called the time traveler. I was in first grade hanging out at recess with a friend. He was shooting some hoops outside and I was playing DS, sitting on the pavement, Nintendo DS. I remember him asking me if he could make a shot from halfway across the court. I told him he could try, but he wouldn't make it while looking at my DS. Suddenly my dad asked me what I mean. And when I look up, I'm sitting on my living room carpet talking to my dad and it's dark out. I was sitting in the same position playing the same game, same level, and the same exact spot in the level. Everything continued normally that night. And I didn't tell anyone at the time, but looking back, it is really freaky. I thought it was a dream for the longest time, but thinking about it, it didn't really feel like a dream, and I don't really remember dreams that well. That's really wild. So he's in first grade hanging out at recess with a friend, playing his DS, makes a statement to his friend, and his dad says, "What do you mean?" He looks up, and he's no longer at recess. He's at home, and it's dark out. Wow. I don't know. Wouldn't that just really screw you up?
Yeah, I'd have a problem with that, yeah.
Oh, man, that'd really screw you up, I would think. I mean, because something happened. How did you get there? What's going on? Is that missing time? Were you abducted? What the hell is that all about? Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a creepy one. The next one, the cat's goodbye. Oh. When I was 6 years old, I had a cat named Buster. Well, suffice it to say, Buster didn't like being hugged and coddled all the time by a little child, so he hated me. He was also an outdoor cat, so he'd often spend most days outside and then come in for the night. One night, Buster didn't come back to the house. We usually fed him at night, so I was worried. Our area is also overrun with abundance of coyotes, and my parents were being a bit hush-hush about Buster's disappearance, but I didn't get the hint. That night, when I was drifting off to sleep, Buster jumped onto my bed and he laid down by my head and let me pet him until I fell asleep. Honestly, I was shocked because he'd never done this before. The next morning, I triumphantly walked downstairs and related to my parents that Buster now loved me because he slept in my bed during the night. My parents looked at me inquisitively and sat me down beside the breakfast table and let me know that when they were outside the night before, they had found Buster's body in the alley behind our house. They thought he had been harassed by a coyote, but he was dead, so he couldn't have slept in my bed that night. To this day, I like to think that Buster just wanted to say goodbye and thank me for trying to love him the only way a child knew how.
There you go.
That's by Guten Morgen, Baltimore. Guten Morgen, Baltimore. The next one is the typist. In my childhood home, I'd often hear touch typing coming from the computer downstairs early in the mornings. I didn't think much of it at first. My parents worked from home, and it wouldn't be uncommon to wake up in the morning to hear Mom typing away on the computer. One morning, I was eating my breakfast when I heard Mom at the top of the stairs call out to me, "You're not down there on the computer already." I froze and ran out to her. I was amazed that she had heard it too. She was convinced she could hear typing, yet no one was down there. I told her about all the times I've been hearing it, and then my sister opened up about hearing it regularly too, when no one was down there. I wasn't crazy after all. I was down there once when the ceiling light globe in the center of the room began flashing very fast, strobe-like. It then exploded and glass went shattering all across the room. I was lucky I ran out of the room when it started happening because I was scared, the whole mysterious typing, you know. If I hadn't have ran, I would have been hit with bits of light bulb. Around the same time I was on the computer at home by myself when something happened that resulted in me never being alone in that room again. I felt and heard this really sharp intake of breath directly behind my right shoulder near my ear. I've never ran so fast in all my life, and I was hesitant going into that room ever again. Prior to that, the whole typing thing had just been something weird and a bit spooky, not scary. Still makes my heart race when I think about it today.
Yeah, definitely.
That was by Maka75. Is it possible that since ghosts can control or seem to be able to influence electronic devices, is it possible they could surf the web, that they couldn't type? You know, I don't know. I think it would be. I don't see why not.
Yeah, I mean, people have typed for generations now. I mean,
Oh, sure.
typewriter's been around forever, and
Right.
so I mean, I suppose the keyboard really doesn't look any different now than it did on a typewriter, except
Right.
it was levers and buttons,
Sure.
and button levers. But I
Yep.
think if somebody sat down from the 50s and looked at a keyboard, or even the 40s or 30s,
They're all QWERTYs.
sat down and looked at it and went, "Oh, I know what this is." So yeah, I mean, they would already have the knowledge, you would think,
Yep.
except me, I get lost. I'm like, where's the P at? Oh, there it is.
Oh, but you're a look typer. But
I'm
yeah,
a typer, yeah.
I think it makes sense to me. And what if what if some kid gets blamed for all the porn and stuff? Is like, I didn't do
But
it.
it wasn't me.
Just
What do you say? A ghost came in and started surfing
that's
porn?
exactly what I'm saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Oh man, yeah, that's too bad.
Ghosts in the machine. Yes, exactly.
Absolutely, I think there's merit to it. I think they may sometimes do that. Maybe they're got friendships and stuff with living people.
Yeah, maybe
They're
they're
just
pen pals.
Sending emails and stuff. Yeah.
just
You don't know. They got their own Gmail or something. I mean, really, could it
ghost
be?
to Gmail.
Wouldn't that be something, right?
Yeah, poltergeist.
We
to
have
Gmail.
we have had accounts that we've heard where people get text messages
Yeah,
from
text.
people that have passed on.
Yeah.
Phone calls will be
yeah.
received from people that have passed on. So maybe they can.
Maybe.
Just a thought, folks. The next one is the museum. Last time I was in New Orleans, I took a couple of friends to the Marie Laveau Voodoo Museum, which my friend Jessica was not too impressed by. I wouldn't say that out loud. Later that day, we were walking back to the Airbnb apartment we had rented and wandered past a house that had one of those historic location plaques on it. And turns out that house had been Marie Laveau's father's house.
Wow.
As we're all standing out in front of this house, Jessica is complaining about how crappy she thought the museum was, and her brand new Galaxy S5 went flying out of her hands and landed a good 5 feet away, totally destroyed.
Wow.
As I said, you wouldn't say that out loud. I was looking right at her when it happened. She didn't trip. She wasn't wildly throwing her arms around. There was no explanation for why her phone would have taken a leap like that. Also, it wasn't just a little scratched up like it had been dropped. It looked like it had exploded from within.
Wow.
That was by Shark Farts.
Oh, Jesus.
Shark Farts.
Wow.
Yeah, don't do that, especially if you're in that town,
Yeah.
in the area where all that energy is. You don't start chiding the deceased. Oh, no.
Yeah, when in Rome, be like Romans.
Yeah. You don't piss off Marie Laveau. I guess it's not number anything. A series of events, this one's called. Number one, my parents had been married for maybe a month. They were in bed sound asleep when all of a sudden my mom jumps up and wakes up my dad. Jimmy, there's blood everywhere. We have to help them, please.
Wow.
My dad tried his best to calm her down and figure out what she was talking about. My mom had explained that she saw a car with a German license plate on the side of the road. There had been an accident and they needed help. My dad tried to console her to explain that it was all just a bad dream, but she wasn't having it. To appease her, they got in the car and drove to the spot my mom thought the accident was. And sure enough, at that exact spot, my mom said There was a car on the side of the road with German plates and emergency flashers on, and upon closer investigation, there was nobody in the car. If they needed help, help had already came. Number 2, my parents had just had their first child, my oldest sister, Kathy. They had been living in Italy at the time. My dad was in the Air Force and had brought her back to the U.S. to introduce her to the grandparents, my dad's parents. So their first night there, my mom was asleep in the front bedroom, jet-lagged. My dad had gone out to hang out with his brothers, and in the middle of the night, this woman walks into my mom's room, waking her up, sits down on the bed and says, "Shh, it's okay. I just wanted to welcome you to the family." My mom was scared, obviously.
Wow.
But figured this was just some relative or family friend or something that came over. The woman walks over to the bassinet where my baby sister was sleeping. "Is this your daughter?" And my mom nodded. "She's beautiful. It's lovely to meet you both." And then she leaves. My mom wakes up the next day and is having breakfast with my grandmother when she brings it up. "Who was the woman that came over last night?" My grandmother had no idea what she was talking about. My mom told her the whole story, and my grandmother asked what she looked like, and my mom said she was tall, had long white hair, and was wearing a blue dress. My grandmother's face went white as a sheet. She rummaged through some old pictures and pulled one out. "Is this her?" she asked my mom, who nodded in return. "That's my mother. She's been dead for 20 years, and we buried her in a blue dress." Wow. That's pretty wild, huh? That was by Founded Hartford. That's pretty cool.
Sweet.
It's a cool one, Don. I like those stories. Those are pretty awesome, and I think we got enough time for a Brent Swanser article. What do you think?
Swanser, sure.
Again, just like Lon Strickler, another great friend is Brent Swanser, who writes for MysteriousUniverse.org. And he's an amazing author. We're just love his work, and he's such a great guy. But he also posts articles over on Paranormal Portal Fans, so definitely get involved. But you can find him in his own group on Facebook, and it's called Dark League Paranormal. So get involved over there. But here we go. This is an article from Brent Swanser on MysteriousUniverse.org, a great site, by the way. Definitely give them some love, too. But this article is called "A Mysterious Case of a Cold War UFO Invasion at a Nuclear Weapons Facility." This is from November 11th. So let's get into this. There have long been very unsettling reports of unidentified aerial phenomena going around nuclear facilities, including nuclear power plants and those harboring ballistic missiles, and some of these are more disturbing than others. From 1947 to 1994, Loring Air Force Base was a United States Air Force installation located in northeastern Maine near Limestone and Caribou at Aroostook County. During its decades of service, it was one of the largest bases of the U.S. Air Force's Strategic Air Command, and during the Cold War, which lasted from 1947 to 1991, its location was extremely important because it was the closest point in the continental U.S. to Europe. For this reason, at the time, it became an essential component of the country's nuclear alert system, able to respond quickly to an incoming threat from the Soviet Union and respond with its 2 KC-135 tanker squadrons and B-52 bomber squadrons, as well as nuclear weapons it housed. At the time of the Cold War, which spanned most of its lifetime, it was an extremely important and sensitive installation with extremely high strategic value. It is for this reason that a strange series of events and unidentified objects in the skies around the base in the very darkest days of the Cold War were of immediate and critical concern. The evening of October 27, 1975 began, as usual for security personnel at the base, and things were uneventful until approximately 8 p.m., when things got rather weird very quickly. As the northern perimeter of the base, an airman patrolling the Loring weapons dump area spotted in the sky an unidentified aircraft of some sort with red navigational light and a white strobe light slowly approaching the base perimeter at an altitude of between 150 and 300 feet. The strange object itself was not clearly seen, but hovering around the perimeter in a very helicopter-like way, bobbing and weaving and seeming to show particularly intense interest in the nuclear weapons storage area. a highly secure and sensitive area that absolutely did not welcome unidentified aircraft of any kind. In response to the sudden intrusion, military helicopters were sent in to investigate and try to make contact with the trespasser, but all attempts to make radio contact were met with silence. And the exact nature of the mystery aircraft could not be identified, merely that it had a very bright strobe and could hover. The base was put on high alert, and the already spooked personnel then picked up on a radar signature of another similar unidentified object around 10 to 13 miles east-northeast of their position. Contact was attempted with this aircraft too on both civilian and military channels, but it too did not respond. The strange visitors apparently eerily circled about on their inscrutable errands for about a full 40 minutes before the one near the base flew off towards Canada, and the other abruptly vanished from radar, leaving the base in a state of high alert and chaos. Considering that Loring was housing nuclear weapons in the aircraft to deliver those weapons, as well as its strategic importance, it was seen as a shocking but bold intrusion, a slap to the face. The base now buzzing with activity like a provoked hive of bees, and the higher-ups were wondering what to do next. Even as they scrambled for answers, they did their best to secure the base and keep the story from hitting the news. This would prove to not be the end of it. The following evening, on October 28th, another strange object appeared at the base. It was first observed at 7:45 p.m. and would also hover about the premises, moving over the runway and the nuclear storage areas, upon which it turned on its lights. Once again, helicopters were sent out to engage, but they were unable to make contact or identify what type of craft it was. Making it even stranger, witnesses on the ground who saw the mysterious craft described it as an orange and red object shaped like an elongated football, with no windows or discernible doors, as well as no obvious propellers or other propulsion systems, and completely silent. Interestingly, helicopters that were sent out could not spot the strange intruder, and it often disappeared from radar. At the time, the object seemed to appear and disappear from view, usually at a distance, and described as behaving very much like a helicopter. But one of the more spectacular accounts of the object was made by two witnesses on the ground who saw it up close, and gave an account that doesn't sound much like a helicopter at all. The account is told in a book by UFO researchers Barry Greenwood and Lawrence Fawcett, called Clear Intent, the government cover-up of the UFO experience in which the account is given. Sergeant Stephen Eichner, a crew chief on the B-52 bomber, was working out of a launch truck along with Sergeant R. Jones and other members of the crew. Jones spotted a red and orange object over the flight line. It seemed to be on the other side of the flight line from where the weapons storage area was located. To Eichner and Jones, the object looked like a stretched-out football. However, in midair, as everyone in the crew stared in awe, as they watched, the object put out its lights and disappeared. But it soon reappeared again over the north end of the runway, moving in jerky motions. It stopped and hovered. Eichner and the rest of the crew jumped into the truck and started to drive towards the object, proceeding down Oklahoma Avenue, which borders the runway. They turned left onto the road that led into the weapons storage area. As they made their turn, they spotted the object about 300 feet in front of them. It seemed to be about 5 feet in the air and hovered without movement or noise. Exhibiting a reddish-orange color, the object was about 4 car lengths long. Eichner described what he saw next. The object looked like all the colors were blending together, as if you're looking at a desert scene. You see the waves of heat rising off the desert floor. This is what I saw. There were these waves in front of the object, and then all the colors were blending together. The object was solid, and we could not hear any noise coming from it. They could not see any doors or windows on the object, nor any propellers or engines, which would keep the object in the air. Suddenly the base came alive. Sirens began screaming. Eichner could see numerous blue lights on police vehicles coming down the flight line and runway toward the weapons storage area at high speed. Jones turned and said to the crew, "We better get out of here." They immediately did. The security police did not try to stop them. Their interest was in the object over the storage dump, not in the truck, which was in a restricted area. The crew drove the truck back to its original location and watched from there. The scene at the weapons storage area was chaotic, with blue lights rotating all around. The vehicle's searchlight beams shining in all directions. The object shut off its lights and disappeared, not to be seen again that night. The object appeared only intermittently on radar as it circled the nuclear area for nearly an hour before flying off into the night. An alert was sent out that an unknown aircraft had penetrated the base's airspace and the nuclear storage facility area, but a full sweep of the area turned up no evidence of what it was or where it had gone. For the next few nights, these incidents would continue, and although the Air Force was insisting on officially calling them unidentified helicopters, some witnesses were not so sure. Although some witnesses did give the impression that they believed they had seen a helicopter, other descriptions seemed to defy this explanation. Some witnesses describe a luminous cigar-shaped object capable of sharp turns, sudden vertical drops and rises, sudden and rapid acceleration, and aerial acrobatics beyond the capabilities of a helicopter, and the fact that it was very often described as being completely silent did not seem to match with the helicopter theory either. It was also increasingly obvious that there was likely more than one of these things, and that the differences in appearance reported showed they could have been different types of craft. Well, there's a diamond. Despite the government's insistence that these were probable helicopters, they are widely called UFOs by base personnel, many of who insisted that these objects were doing impossible feats in the sky. Throughout these spooky incursions, radar operators would pick up the objects only to lose them again, and on several occasions fighter jets were scrambled only to arrive on the scene and see nothing. Even when on the ground, personnel said that they were right on top of them. Most of the time, it seemed as if the objects were not able to be painted for radar to hone in on, leaving the pilots to hunt for the things based on verbal directions to the locations and never seeing anything. The seeming inability for pilots to give visual confirmation of them is truly bizarre, and with all these missions turning out to be wild goose chases. And one Chief Warrant Officer, Bernard Powlin, of the Marine Army National Guard's 112th Medical Company, would say of it, "Well, again, we hunted around and we didn't see anything. Again, they would call and say they could hear it at a location, and we would go there and could not see it. We would then shut down and wait for the next call, and it went on for a couple of nights. This again was an early evening or early in the morning. I can recall on the second night of the mission, radar picked up a return, but it turned out to be a KC-135 tanker returning from overseas. We could go real low to where they said that it was and would turn on our searchlight and sweep the area with the light, but we never saw the craft. After it was over, we discussed our mission. The powers to be were quite concerned about what was going on and if we were able to see anything. They maintained all along up there, those are pretty sensitive places, and they have to know what the hell is going on. When they arrived at the base, the security lid was on so tightly that both pilots were permitted to call their wives only once to say that they were on a mission, and in a meeting with Chaplain Powlin, recalled the commander saying, "We've got to keep a lid on the fact that someone has been able to penetrate in and around the bomb dump, and we don't know what's going on. We've got to find out what's going on and prevent it from happening again." There would be other reports of this sense of secrecy and the government wanting to keep a lid on all things. Personnel would often report being debriefed after sightings and being told in no uncertain terms to talk to no one of what they had seen, or to spread the story that these were helicopters from over the Canadian border terrorizing them. Those damn Canadians. Great efforts were made to keep all of this out of the press, but it started to hit the news in a big way. Throughout it all, the Air Force was adamant that it was all the doing of helicopters, even though they grudgingly admitted that they did not know for sure, and it was officially classified as unknown. A complete investigation by the Air Force into it could not find a concrete cause for the sightings, and when the phenomena abruptly stopped on October 31st, they were more than happy to try to brush it all under the carpet and divert attention away from the incident. Interestingly, during the same general time frame, several other nuclear military installations around the United States experienced similar bizarre incidents involving unidentified flying objects invading their airspace, and it shows that this phenomenon expanded beyond just loring. Although the Air Force has tried to distance itself from the incident at Loring and other similar incidents at other bases, it has not been forgotten by the hundreds of witnesses who saw the phenomena for themselves and the numerous UFO researchers who have pursued it. What was going on here? It seems obvious that something unauthorized was making forays into the facility and showing an interest in the nuclear weapons storage site. In the process, rattling Air Force all the way up to the highest levels of U.S. military's command structure. But what is it? Were these helicopters, as the military seems to want us to believe? Was it perhaps some sort of experimental aircraft, either from the U.S. government's testing our response to these intrusions or some foreign power, possibly even the Soviets? Or was it something else, possibly otherworldly visitors? In all cases, we're left to wonder what they wanted, why they menaced this facility, and where they went. It has gone on to become a very well-documented and intense case. Yet despite thorough research into it all, there is very little known for sure other than that something very strange went on at Loring Air Force Base during that week in 1975.
Yep.
Well, obviously they wanted to know about the weapons. They wanted to see what the hell we were doing. I don't know. I think that they can come and go as they please. Not much we can do about it.
Not really.
We just don't have the technology, Don.
Nope.
And it's funny. The thing with those things is that they say, well, they were wildly investigated and they looked into it. But they're only able to look into what they were able to report,
Right.
which is they don't know what the hell was going on.
They don't know.
So it doesn't matter how many times you look at those reports, you're still going to walk away not knowing what the hell was going on.
Right.
Unless somehow that information becomes available and people start, being able to talk about these things more clearly as part of this whole disclosure movement. Disclosure.
Okay.
But anyway, I think that's, well, you've talked about accounts where they shut down missiles, right?
Right. Yeah. There was a couple supposed where they actually knocked the Minutemen silos offline.
Yeah.
And they couldn't do anything. They couldn't do anything with it. So.
Even the ones that were like they weren't like internet missiles. So they're in these standalone little networks.
Yeah. Self-contained.
Yeah.
Yeah. You had to be in the silo to do anything with it. Yeah.
Right. But still they were able to do that. So that's pretty
correct.
amazing. Pretty darn amazing, folks.
Wow.
It just goes to show you that they have the ability to shut all that madness down.
They do.
But why they don't, I don't know.
Guess what time it is?
Time to say, ladies and gentlemen, we've had a wonderful journey with you here tonight on the Paranormal Portal. We hope you've enjoyed this journey into the portal with us. And we hope that you are subscribed, because if you're not, there might be something wrong with you. So you should be subscribed and you should share the show. You should tell people about the amazing time you had watching and participating in the Paranormal Portal. And talk about the amazing hosts and how much love and joy they put into what they're doing. And then talk about what a fantastic show it is and how much people will enjoy it too.
And this is how much they actually enjoy it. Here's how much. Megs from Australia gave us a $5 super chat.
Woo!
Because she says, just because, love, great show, D-holes. And then, Sugar Britches, she said, thanks for being you, with a $20 super chat. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Woohoo! Woohoo! That's really sweet. Thank you guys.
But then again, the Aussies we know send us kangaroo balls, so, whatever.
We've got those bottle openers that are like kangaroo junk
Oh,
openers.
hi, Mom. I just noticed Mom's here. Sorry,
That's all right.
I didn't say anything wrong.
No, she's fine with it. She raised me. She's been exposed to a lot already, folks. So, any rate, that's gonna about wrap up the journey, right, Don?
Yeah, it's gonna have to. I gotta get going.
Don's got to get going. That means the party's got to stop, folks.
Yep.
And I'm about out of gas anyway, but I've really had a good time, and thank you all for being here with us. Check out our Teespring if you want to help support the show.
Yep.
That's a big way to do it. The description has the link. If you look down in the show description, all that typing that I do, there's links to stuff in there, and it would certainly help us out. But one of the biggest ways you can help out is please just let people know about the shows. Let people know about the Paranormal Portal and try to share the love. Feel free to share these episodes.
Yeah.
I'd be honored.
Yeah.
I'd be honored if you shared them on your social media.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the biggest way you can help us. So All right, guys. Anything, Don, in closing?
Nope, that pretty much covers my end of it. So there we are on the back end.
On the back end where Don likes to be.
No boy.
Yes. All right, folks. Thank you so
Don't
much for
be a
joining us.
D-hole.
I'm no D-hole. I'm just the D.
Maybe that's probably true.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is for sure. But we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. And we'll be back tomorrow night for the night terrors, and Friday and Saturday we'll be back for the 2-hour shows. Don, you'll be here which one?
I'm thinking Saturday.
Saturday.
Because I have to go to CDA on Friday again.
CDA.
CDA.
All right. Well, there you go, folks. That's it for us. Love you all. Have a great night. Be excellent to each other.
Be most excellent.
That's a Bill and Ted line.
Yes, of course it is.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.